Video blog.
Hi there, this is Tim from Twice Circled, and welcome to the first video blog for my latest game, Big Pharma. Now in this episode, I want to give an overview of the game. I'm going to record a little bit of gameplay footage. I'm going to be talking about some of the mechanics that are in the game so far. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about what the next steps are and what you are likely to see me add to the game over the coming weeks and months. So what is Big Pharma? It's a game all about running your own pharmaceutical company. And so it's about finding ingredients at various locations around the world, jungles and rainforests, deserts and under the sea, and then bringing those ingredients to your factory and processing and combining them with the use of a number of machines, some of which you can see on the screen right now, and connecting all those together with conveyor belts to make production lines. And then at the end, you're going to be creating drugs which you can hopefully sell for a profit. Now, there's a number of things that make your life difficult, one of which is a dynamic marketplace, which will mean you're constantly having to react to the current market demand. There's going to be competitors who are also creating drugs, and you're going to be competing with those guys on price. And there's also those pesky regulatory bodies who are going to be, trying to make your life difficult, making sure you're not selling any drugs that are killing people. So you don't want to just watch the title screen all day. Let's jump into a game. Okay, so this is the main screen of Big Pharma. It's the production tab, and this is where you spend most of your time managing your production lines and making sure that you're creating the drugs that you want to. One of the first things you'll do when you start a game, though, is jump to the second tab, which is the ingredients tab, and this is where you can see what ingredients you have available to you to create those drugs. Now in this game, I've set it up so that I have 4 ingredients available to me at the start. It will probably be, in the final game, will probably be less than this because part of the game is unlocking new ingredients as time goes on, which opens up new possibilities and new treatments that you can create. But to kind of speed things along, we've started with 4 here. One of the parts of the game that's still quite underdeveloped is the exploration aspect. So at the moment it's quite passive. Basically these 4 locations are they're ingredients waiting to be discovered, essentially. And currently they just tick along. You can change which one you want to where you want to focus your expedition efforts, but you can't control how much you're spending on expeditions. And that's where this slider comes in. So I think the next thing I'd like to try with this screen is having this slider changeable so that you can actually set the amount of your money that you want to invest in your expedition budget, which will determine the speed at which you can discover new ingredients. Let's just switch back to the Amazon rainforest because that's going to get us our next ingredient a little bit quicker. Now, speaking of ingredients, these are the ones we currently have available. So these are randomly generated, and they're different every time you start a new game. So currently we have the continental Pangsac crystal. We have reformed, God, can't even pronounce this, ferrocyanide mist, cultivated mulberry bark extract, and a foaming alkaline solution. Now, each of these has a number of randomly generated properties attached to it. So this first one has the irritate skin property, which is actually negative. You can see because it's pink and it's minus 14, which actually, that's not a very marketable property, is it? No one's going to buy something that simply irritates their skin. But when I hover over it, you can see that it upgrades to antibacterial when combined with toxic, and then the plus 74 means that's a net increase of 74, so it's a more valuable property, and that's called a reaction. And all of these have reactions, and some of them have 2, some of them have 3. Some of them, there's some of the most kind of complicated properties have a number of reactions, and so the game kind of revolves around, at this point, well, it's not the whole game, but the production line management part of the game. It revolves around making these reactions go off and to try and increase the value of your properties while also reducing the value of the your negative ones, trying to get rid of your negative side effects. So we'll have a look at some of these more complicated ones as we go forward, but let's just start with a very simple one. So Or in fact, this isn't very good because this particular reaction, I need to combine it with something else which I haven't actually got available yet. And that's really interesting, I think. It's one of my favourite mechanics, the combination one, because actually it doesn't matter what I do, I can't actually improve the value of this one until I get access to an ingredient which contains the property toxic. So it shows already how instantly important it is to discover new ingredients. Let's have a look at one of these others. Okay, that's a bit simpler. So let's get this reformed ferrocyanide mist into our factory. So you do that by clicking the import button, and then you can build an importer, and you can see it's already importing our reformed ferrocyanide mist. You can only build importers and exporters around the edge of your factory, which is why I built it there. And let's have a look what we can do with this. So we can increase its value by processing it with an agglomerator machine, and that'll turn it into an alleviates wind property, which is much better than imposes breathing difficulties. So let's do that. So if I go into this menu, this is how you build everything. And like a lot of kind of tycoon simulation games, like SimCity or Anno, a lot of the game revolves around building buildings and kind of laying out your kind of production lines so that they're efficient. So that particular reaction asks us to use an agglomerator. So you can select the agglomerator tool, and then I'm using the middle mouse button here to rotate it, and we can try and put it in a sensible place to line it up. And one of the first things you'll notice is that each machine has a input and output, and those inputs and outputs are different on each machine, which can make laying out your factory quite awkward. So this particular one is kind of, it comes in straight but then comes out to the right. So, you know, we have no choice really, but we kind of end up over here, which is kind of, it's already making our production line kind of like loopy. So a lot of the fun in the game, I think, is optimizing the layout of your factory to save space, because you can expand your factory using this tool, but that costs a lot of money. So there we go. We've already increased the value of this side effect by turning it into alleviates wind. So it's kind of like anti-fart medicine. And then to complete our production line, what we need to do is convert this raw ingredient, these little pellets, into a finished product. Now there's currently two finished products in the game, the pill printer and the creamer. And each of these has a kind of a global effect that it applies. The pill printer increases the combined value of your drug by £10, while the creamer reduces the magnitude of negative effects by 50%. And you can already probably see how these kind of global effects can be used to your advantage. The creamer is great for when you can't get rid of one of those pesky side effects. You can reduce the magnitude of it so it's not such a big deal. Alright, so I'm going to create a pill printer. Now where am I going to put it? I'm actually going to put it here, and you'll see why in a second. I'm going to drag a belt down here, connect it up here, and then bring it right round here. And this is quite a long way of doing it, but what you'll notice is I am making quite efficient use of the space. It's quite compact, this production line, even though it's quite long. Now, making a long production line comes with its own issues, in that it's a long time between importing your ingredient to the time that you sell it for a profit. And so basically all of the ingredients that you have sitting on your production line, that's essentially your stock. And it's the kind of standing amount of money you have to have invested in that production line at all times. So it's a bad thing to have production lines that are too long. We can watch this pill printer turning the pellets into a nice finished pill, and we can select it here, and you can see this is a figure side pill which alleviates wind. What fun. What I'd like to add at some point is the ability to rename your drugs. This is kind of the chemical name, if you like, but you should be able to give it like a brand name. So I imagine I'd call this kind of Fart Away or something like that. Great. Now, one of the interesting things about the production line simulation aspect of the game is that each machine has a different processing time. And the game runs on this kind of fixed tick. The agglomerator here has a processing time of 1, so it can just process every single tick. The pill printer has a processing time of 2, so what you'll see is it brings one in, and then actually now, you see the conveyor belt will move now, halfway through this being done. So it's actually it's holding up the line, basically. This little bit of the line is static while this bit's moving. So we want to improve the efficiency of that, and we can do that by using T-junctions. So let me show you that. So I've just deleted that pill printer, and I'm actually going to move it because T-junctions are most efficient when you have a little gap between where you have the T-junction and where it enters the pill printer, the machine. And that's because, well, it's actually for quite subtle reasons, but you'll probably be able to work them out yourself if you by the time when you play the game. Yeah, you'll see. And it's actually the same on the other side. It's to keep things flowing smoothly, it's good to have a little gap there, so that more things can enter the product. If you have a kind of a pill just standing on the outside of it, straight into a production, going straight into a junction, then it can get stuck, and it can actually kind of stop your machines processing at their maximum speed. So that's just a little pro tip: is always leave a little a kind of runway before you hit your junctions. So anyway, I just did that really quickly, but it doesn't just look nice. This is actually an incredibly efficient production line. What you'll notice is that now these, because they're splitting across 2 pill printers, which each have a processing time of 2, this bit of the production line is always moving, which means that your agglomerator is actually processing every single turn. You can just see it goes and goes and goes. So that's a really, what I think a really fun part of the game is kind of matching the processing speeds of each of your production lines, using and splitting them up and mixing things differently using these junctions. Okay, let's go back and make a more complicated drug. See, while we've been on that other tab, our expedition has been running, and we've now explored the Amazon rainforest, or wherever it was, I can't remember, and we found the rare hycolatus secretion. Now this is actually an amazing ingredient. We've lucked out here. It's already very, very positive. So let's just quickly set up a production line which just turns that straight into a pill, because I cannot resist a double positive ingredient like that. You can just see how simple it is to create a simple production line, but you'll see in a second when we create something more complicated, it's possible to create very, very complicated lines. So this will be fine. Yeah, there we go. This is great. This is really profitable, actually. That's a great ingredient. Now you might be thinking, well, why wouldn't you just build loads and loads of production lines like that? Why would you bother doing anything else? Now the reason is that when we add the dynamic market simulation to the game, if you sell too much of a single drug, or in fact if your competitors do, because bear in mind your competitors will have the exact same ingredients available to them, assuming they spend the same amount on their expedition funding. And so they'll also spot the amazing opportunity this provides to make a nice smelling decongestant really very cheaply. And the problem is, if you sell too much, the supply will increase and then the price will come down. And so it's beautifully self-balancing, the marketplace. If anything is too profitable, as soon as you pounce on it, or your competitors do, the price will come down to kind of balance it out. So it's definitely important to come up with unique cures that no one else is making. Okay, let's see if we can combine something. We've got quite a lot available now. So, okay, let's have a little look for the ones which combine. Have we got a prompts headaches? No. Aches muscles. Oh hello, okay. Say dries mouth is upgrades to promotes muscle growth when combined with aches muscles. And we've got an aches muscles over here. So let's do something cool. I'm just going to expand a little bit, give ourselves a little bit more space. And then let's bring in this one first. What's this one called? Our aromatic Fervalet minerals. And then let's also bring in this one here. Oops, shouldn't have done that. Oh, that's fine actually. Because I still had that importer selected, it automatically imports directly into that. But if you deselect it, then you'll get the chance to create another one. Incidentally, there's multiple ways of importing stuff. You can create an importer and then click import, and it will take you straight here. Or you can just go straight to the ingredients tab and click import, and it will automatically select the importer tool for you. Now, okay, we've got two different things now. So one of the most fundamental machines is the multi-mixer. This lets you mix two ingredients together, and it's the only way at the moment that you can create a combined a property or a treatment, a cure, which requires you to combine two things together. Okay, now that first one's not going to work because we're combining the same thing twice because I made a little mistake with the importer, but the second one should work fine. So we can see here, it drops those two and drops those two on the right, and then brings the dry's mouth and aches muscles together, and it promotes muscle growth. How beautiful. And you can see that that's more valuable. Plus 50. I mean, none of the other things we're selling has a value of that much. And the secret to making a very profitable cure is by combining things together and processing it multiple times. Now, how can we make this better? Well, let's hover over it. If we could upgrade this to removes cataracts if we combine it with Hill's conjunctivitis. I don't know if we've got access to that yet. Oh, amazing. Look at this. I didn't plan this. This ingredient already has the Hill's conjunctivitis, the blur's vision side effect attached, which turns into the Hill's conjunctivitis property if we pass it through a vacuum cooler. So the vacuum cooler is quite a advanced machine, but in this demo we've got all of them available. So normally you wouldn't be able to do this. Normally you'd have to then spend a load of money researching the vacuum cooler, but lucky for us we can just put it straight in. That's very fortuitous. So that will move in, and then you'll see, oh dear, oh what's happening? Oh, I'm a fool. You see, this is the tricky bit of the game. It seems easy, but then look what I've done. Oh, actually that's worked. Oh great, okay. Oh no, yeah, that makes absolute sense. It's all fine, it's all fine. I thought I'd made a mistake then. Actually, everything's worked out really well here. I've done an amazing combo. Lucked out. Okay, so this turns to Hill's conjunctivitis when you put it in the vacuum cooler, which combines with the promotes muscle growth to turn into removes cataracts. And at the same time, this weakened immune system is removed when you process it 2 times. You'll see here. It's removed, should say when it's removed processed 2 times. That's a little bug in the counters there, but that's really beautiful. So that's also getting rid of that other side effect, and then just like that we've made an incredibly profitable cure, a cataract removal treatment. I don't know what I'd call that. Now you see, I'd call it. And then we passed it into an exporter, which I haven't really explained yet. I've just been kind of doing it. If you put it into an exporter, and that sells it. So that is a really good little production line. The only problem with it is that the vacuum cooler has a very long processing time. So what I would probably want to do next is look at splitting this line into 2 vacuum coolers to increase the speed that we can run things through. Go on, I'll quickly do that because it's fun, and then I'll wrap up. Okay, so we'll have a vacuum cooler here and a vacuum cooler here. And then we put a T-junction there, like that, and then we can combine it again, add a T-junction here, and then we'll run it through a pill maker and sell our finished drug. And this is my favourite bit of the game, is this kind of optimizing stuff, and it's, it's just kind of cool that there's a reason to have this layout, like you mix 2 things together and then you split them up again, and this is, you can already see like things are moving a lot faster through here. We're now making 2 removes cataract treatments at a time. I do have to be a little bit careful. You see that this blur's vision gets deactivated if I move it 7 times, so I can't have too much space. You'll see at the point when it enters this machine, if I moved it 4 more times, it deactivates. So you're constantly having to look out for those reactions, which kind of stop you in your tracks. But that's a really nice production line. I'm actually very proud of that. Beautiful. All right. Well, I think that's enough gameplay footage for now. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what Big Pharma is all about. But I'd like to also just talk about what I'm planning to put in next. So I've explained how I'd like to improve this discovery mechanic and make it a little bit more less passive, more active. The other thing is this testing budget you can see here. What I'm thinking is when you discover a new ingredient, and maybe even the ones you start with, I'm not sure, they start off with question marks. You can't actually see what properties are attached to them, but then by increasing your testing budget you can increase the speed at which you find out what's in each of these properties. So why that's interesting is that you can imagine that maybe you've got this one here and you've discovered that it's a fungicide, and you think, oh well, let's do some cool stuff with that, and then you create a drug with it, but unbeknownst to you, you've got all these really horrible side effects already also attached to that ingredient, and you're selling this drug and potentially hurting people, and then one day before you know it, you get this big outcry like, oh my god, he's selling this horrible drug which is causing blurs and vomiting, and then you get a massive hit to your reputation, and who knows, they might even ban the drug you're trying to sell. And I like this idea because it allows you to balance your risk and reward, because obviously selling a drug before you've discovered all the bad things it has a couple of good things. One, you can sell it quicker, earlier, so you're making money sooner, but also you don't actually know about these negative effects. You're not having to say on the label, may cause vomiting and blurs vision. So it's actually you don't, these negative values won't actually be taken into account unless you discover them. So it's like a double whammy bonus, but obviously really terrible if there's an outbreak because of something you've sold. And then of course I really want to put the dynamic marketplace in. I think that's going to be really important to make the game more dynamic, because at the moment I'm making really good money from this, and I could just leave that for an hour and I would just make loads and loads of money and nothing would change. So that the marketplace and the competitors are going to be really interesting. I've also got a couple of ideas for improving the production line part of the game, which perhaps I'll explain in another video. But yeah, just there's some of these stuff. I like the idea, I like the way you lay out these things, but there's a couple of little subtleties which I'm not so keen on yet, and I'm going to give those a tweak. I also want to look at how you expand it, and I want to. There's a bit too much control in how you expand stuff now, and I'm looking to moving to a system where there's a number of randomly generated plots around your factory where you start, and you can choose to expand into those, but you don't get the fine-tuned control that you currently have, just to make your life a little bit more awkward. Okay, well, I'm going to leave this video here. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you like your first taste of this is the first Big Pharma gameplay footage that is available. So for all the people who couldn't see it at EGX, I hope you're satisfied, and if you've got any comments, leave them below this video. And you can follow the Twice Circled blog for updates. You can sign up to the development newsletter for the same reason, and also for your chance to alpha or beta test the game next year. And finally, you can follow me at Twice Circled. You can find a link below the video. Alright, thank you for watching, guys. Bye bye.